going to do some bass, or I should say some drum sculpting. Basically, first thing I want to address is that whenever you're trying to mess with drums, that basically drums have a tonal quality. They have harmonics in their sound, harmonic and non-harmonic tones, and distortions. So it's when you start sculpting it, the first thing, something I want to address really quick is if you're dealing with electronic drums and the key is in G, you can actually tune the drums to where all the drums are tuned to something that is harmonically compatible and or pleasing with the rest of the song, and actually tune them in key, even if they're not completely tuned in key. The problem is most drums that are natural drums, that are drum set, that they're not done that way. The guy doesn't get up when the song's in G and then when the song's in F and change the tuning on all his drums. You know, I mean, you can't, you know. So basically, you're stuck with whatever you got. And sometimes they'll work better with some songs than others. You might get this one song and the bass drum just sounds awesome with what's going on because the bass drum is tuned. It's got harmonic qualities that are really meshing well. Or it doesn't have anything to do with that because of the type of the song. But you can actually tune the drums to the song with electronic drums. And you can also take a drum set and you can look at a bass drum and you can see what key the song is in. And you can actually take that bass drum and tune it. You know, take your bass drum in your studio and actually look at where it's at in the frequencies. Figure out what key that song's in and try to put that bass drum somewhere where it's at a frequency, like if the song's in the key of G, and you can get that, you know, you can get that bass drum to one of the notes that's in the key of G or to that frequency somewhere closer. And same thing with all the other songs when you're mixing the wave files. That's not that big of a deal to do, and it is actually will help the song. Sometimes you may not think so, but I think so because you are basically changing that drum to where it's actually harmonically, you know, complementary to the rest of the song because the bass frequency is actually in tune with the key that they're playing in, you know, and so that doesn't take a lot to do, and that's a real easy thing to do, to remember that. And so try to make a note of that and just try it and see what you come up with. You got a bass drum and it's hitting around 80, you know, hertz, and the drum's in the key of F or something, and try to tune it to a note that's somewhere down around there that's going to make it in key. Or change it to one of the notes it's really driving in E, you know, can you get it tuned close to that, you know, or can you get it tuned to a fifth, or, you know, or a third if it's major, or a, you know, minor third if it's in minor E, and see what you can come up with. And you'd be surprised that just a little bit of tuning on it will actually help, you know. But that's another way that we're not really addressing at this moment. Now, right now we've got, let's say we're just going to bass drum. But you can do this with any drums. So the first thing you need to do is you need to figure out where this guy's drum is at. So you've got it, and you come around in here and you figure, well, the main frequency on it, it's got a pretty heavy overtone here, but you're not sure exactly what that is. It looks like it's about G2 or something like that. But the main tone on it is coming out to, looks like D. Right around D somewhere, between D and D sharp. Alright, so now you understand that. So I'm going to go with D. I think that D sharp probably ain't quite correct for what he's doing in this after listening to the song. It would be better to do it in D. And I don't think it's really going to mess with that because the tonal qualities and frequency close. So that's the first thing you find. And then after you do that, there's a simple calculator that you can get online, and you can actually see the website here to this guy that is, you know, a mixing engineer, the real one. And, you know, you will see that this guy has got this calculator. Now, we already talked about harmonics, and if you're looking at our video on harmonics, this will make better sense. You should watch it anyway. So I chose the fundamental frequency at 73. That means this is going to be the harmonics in that. So we understand that we started out with, chose a fundamental frequency for that drum, and those are going to be the harmonics basically based on that center frequency. And then we're off to the next step. Alright, next we have created a track underneath the drum track that we have. And on that track, you go back to the drum track, and on the sends on that, well, first of all, on the new track, you want to install a tone generator first, and then a gate, if you're just going to use one tone generator. Then you go to the sends to this from this track, and you put the send on that track to the tone generator. When you you'll tap it on there in the send, and it'll give you a choice of side chains, and then it'll have you send it to this gate. And you have to make sure on this gate that you have enabled the side chain on it and unclick the ducking on it. And then you just basically got to mess around with the open and close. Turn on the tone generator at any frequency and mess around until you get it to open and close when this drum hits. Turn them on both and mess around with it until you can get those adjusted to where you want it, to where it's opening about where you want it and closing about where you want it, and the rest of the settings. Now, I'm not really going through that a whole lot because how you're going to want to set it really going to depend on you, but just understanding that, and then you just playing with it until you can figure out how it trails off or how fast the attack and the release is, how you want it to sound with the actual tones you're putting in there. Then we're off to the next step. Next, in the channel editor on your track, enable the channel editor. And basically, I've put this many tone generators on there because I wanted the first harmonic, which is going to be, we've seen what it was on that, and that's going to be 73. And then the first overtone, second harmonic, second overtone, third harmonic, up to 9. And the reason why I'm only going up to 9 is because the basic harmonic structure of a square wave or triangle wave or sawtooth wave, you get 9 or 10 harmonics, and basically you're pretty good to go. Now, you start adding distortion or anything like that on that track, that it'll actually distort it also. But that's the next step. And also before those, in this channel editor, you've got, if you look like at a major chord, so you'd have this first harmonic, which would be the primary note, and then the third and the fifth above that. Well, if you go backwards, like let's say this is D, right? So D above that, you're going to have F sharp, and you're going to have A, right? So below it, the first note below it would be A, and then the next note below it would be F sharp. So I put the fifth and then the third underneath that at the next fifth, the next A down, which was so many frequencies. I had to figure the frequency out, and it's pretty easy to sweep around, look on your spectrogram and just kind of look around it. It'll show you where the frequency are until you find that A, then go down below until you find that F sharp and set those frequencies there. And that basically, you can see how this is set up, how you got that lowest third, the fifth. Now you can change these back and forth also. You could make this a minor third if you wanted. But basically, if you just hit like one note on the piano, it basically has the structures of like a major chord anyway because of the harmonic structure. So that seems to work pretty well. And you can see how this goes like that, how I put the splitters on there, and how I have those harmonics going all the way down to here until I got down to the 9th harmonic. And you can see how those are laid out like that, down to the 9th harmonic. And that's the next step. And you can see on this plug-in how I've got the 3rd, the 5th harmonic, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way across there, going down to the gate. And the actual gate, when you've got it sitting there, you're open and you're closed, and your range, your attack and your release and all that stuff, you basically, for me to sit here and go through how you're going to want it to sound, you want it to open and then close, basically. So when the bass drum hits, when it hits it, it opens it, so they let the tone generators through, and then it closes afterwards. So I can sit here and explain this to you, but I'm not really going to let you mess around with it. On this channel, I have something that explains the gate a little bit better. But if you understand the gate, it shouldn't be that difficult to understand that. And that's the next part. Now you can see when I turn on the drum, you can see the basic the tonal qualities going down here, right? And if I turn that off and I turn on all my tone generators, turn on all the tone generators, you should be able to see all those come through also if I turn off the gate. And you can see they're basically around the same area. And if I turn on the gate and hit them both together, you can see that they're basically rolling right around the basic fundamental part of the frequencies, and then all this roll-off distortion and things like that that are higher up on this frequency, that I'll explain that also. But you got to basically that it's there to sculpt it now. That's the next part, to see that. Now, some tones are better with odd harmonics, some are better with even, some are better with both. So it's real easy for you now with that chain that you have here to very easily go on here or up on your mix console and turn off all the even harmonics and all the odd harmonics. And also this first ones here that are the third and the fifth below the first harmonic here that you've seen that are up in here. Turn those off and see what they sound like, because you can sit here and look at it and go, that's what they are. And then if I turn on the gate and hit the drum, how's it sounding? And how's it doing to the tonal qualities? Anyway, the point is real simple, is that now you have a real simple tool. You can save this whole setup as a preset, and it's not a huge CPU hog. And you can add odd or even harmonics to your drum, and you can also add like thirds and fifths underneath the primary frequency you have with this here, because you've got your primary harmonic, which would be that tone, the initial tone that you're dealing with, and then you have the other tones that are back farther down below in the frequency, the third, minor third, or the third and the fifth, down there, that you can change them back and forth, and you can even make that third a minor third and see how that sounds. And basically what you're going to want to do is, when you're messing around with those, is you're basically just going to want to use the volume knobs on here or the volume knobs on the actual tone generators to, you know, see what it looks like, you know. So you pull it up and then, you know, mess around with it. You can either do it on here or on here, and you can just start, you know, jump around in those. You've turned off the odd harmonics or the even harmonics, and you can go around and adjust the level of them on here, bring them up and down, and watching your tone generator as it's going, you know. When you turn this one up, there it is way up there. Okay, that's obvious too much, right? So I'm going to bring that down, and what's that doing? You know, I mean, what is that tonal frequency there going to help it some? But anyway, you've got a really cool sculpting tool, and that's the next step. Mess around your even and odd harmonics on it, and those two lower frequencies that are that third and that fifth, or that minor third and fifth below that we talked about in that preset you've got, that's this. And you've got a really cool shaping tool. And then that was the next step. Now, basically, if you look at your drum track and you see what the sound looks like, as you start shaping that, you will see that you add those even or odd harmonics, or a set of even or a set of odd, and bringing up some of those lower harmonics, that lower third and fifth, are really going to help shape it. And the deal is with that is they're very specific frequencies based around the primary frequency that drum is at, and you adjust that for any drum that you're dealing with so that you can sculpt it according to its primary fundamental frequency, or its primary frequency, its first, you know, harmonic. And then after that, the next step after that, after you've messed around with that while, and there's really no way to tell you how to do that, because you might like a little spike high end or low end or something like that. And you can add more harmonics on that preset if you'd like, also for upper end stuff. And then after you get done with that, what you can do is you can go to this thing here in this tone generator, and after all the other tone generators before the gate, you can put saturation on there. You can put different types of saturation, a little bit of distortion, harmonic exciters, you know, things like that, that will actually build out that other stuff a little bit that you see at the tail end of the frequency spectrum to help sculpt it a little bit more. And that'll keep you busy for quite a while, but that is a huge tool to sculpt your drums exactly the way you want them. Peace, hope, love. Have a nice day. Pass it along.